workable, reasonable solution to the issue of the size of council that reflects our tradition as a city of Cleveland and reflects how we have traditionally been represented. And there's other cities that do it differently, but this is how Cleveland has done it, and this is as close as we can get to reflecting what has been our tradition of government. Another issue came up after we had reached this was, how do we want lines to be redrawn? And we took up a very interesting issue, and we spent a good amount of time on it. And that issue was, can we draw lines in the city of Cleveland? Can we include in the charter amendment that was in front of the voters an additional provision which says that no neighborhood shall be cut in the drawings, and if so, if we had to cut a neighborhood with ward boundaries, could you minimize it so that each neighborhood is cut only one time? And at first glance, this sounded very attractive. This sounded like a very wise thing to do. And we really spent a lot of time looking at it. But when we looked at the number of neighborhoods, the likely number of wards, and tried to reasonably come up with where the population was, we found that that challenge was very difficult, if not impossible, and we left that off of the ballot language. But that, and it wasn't just the difficulty of it, it was the fact that neighborhoods, as Councilman Cummings referred to them earlier as SPAs, they're statistical planning areas, which are created by our planning department. But it doesn't represent true neighborhoods, you know, like the South Hills, Brooklyn Acres, all of the, and Councilman Brancatelli will tell you about North Broadway, South Broadway, St. Hyacinth. They're not recognized as neighborhoods by our SPAs, but they're certainly recognized as neighborhoods in and of themselves. So we thought it would be unreasonable to tie the ward drawing to statistical planning areas that are created by our planning department. And we thought that we would need to leave that up to City Council, with the value being that that would be the intention. You would try to achieve that, but it would be irresponsible and unworkable to have that as part of the charter provision. So I think everybody's got a copy of this with their handouts, ordinance number 132108, which basically provides a range whereby each council, depending on the population, the size of council is basically determined by the population, and it was done this way so that there would be no confusion in terms of do we round up, do we round down. It's you know, 17.8, is that 18, do we go to 19? So we put just a real clear range so that if this is the population, this is the number of council people. The City Council hired Triad Research to do demographics for us for this process. They, in turn, hired Cleveland State to do an estimate of the population as of February 1st of this year. And that is the number that we were to use in terms of dividing the city. And at this point, we have the number that was determined was 427,000 was the estimated population by Cleveland State, which would require us to divide the city into 19 wards. And that is the task that is before City Council right now. And that is what we are here to listen to your feedback about. And just wanted to tell you we reconvened the subcommittee and invited a few more people after we got the numbers, just to talk about what are the values that we want going forward as a city. What do we want to consider when we draw these lines? And everybody understood the fact that we want to strive to keep neighborhoods intact, keep neighborhoods from being split, but really look to not SPAs, but the neighborhoods themselves. Another value that was very clear was that we need to make sure that we have districts that, so that certain populations, the Hispanic population, the Asian population, would be united and have a representative in City Council. And that is the information that was shared with us by the reconvened subcommittee that met after the charter review process was all done and after this was passed. And as we started down this path in terms of what should the city look like, how are we now going to divide the city? And I can tell you it is a very difficult process. It is a monumental challenge to look at where the population is going and how we are now going to divide the city. Just some broad comments on what the numbers told us is that we were kind of expecting the population to be about 436, like just above 435. The 427 was a little bit of a shock in terms of the rate at which the population was decreasing. Another issue is that there was more population lost in many of the east side wards than the west side wards. And that will certainly come into play as we talk about what the new configurations will look like, because there's almost got to be like a more, I don't know how you say, like some of the wards that are represented, maybe some east-west ward represents east and west. We don't know any of this yet, but those are just kind of the general population trends that we have observed thus far. And those are the values that we are going to kind of adhere to going forward. And at this point, I'd just like to hear, from citizens. That's why this meeting was called tonight, to get feedback from people, which is the same reason we had these subcommittee meetings of the Charter Review Commission, which was a citizen-driven body, it was a citizen-driven committee, and we think that the concerns that we're considering are citizen-driven concerns, and we look forward to getting this done, and the council and the council president, we want to just continue to serve the city in the best fashion, the best way that we know how. So thank you for your time. Excuse me 1 second. One relevant date is that April 1st. By April 1st, we need to have the ward boundaries drawn, and then we need to submit them to the Board of Elections, because the Board of Elections is going to draw new precincts for all Cleveland wards as soon as we get them the information. We do have new primary and election dates. If you recall, the Board of Elections had a problem whereby there were so many municipalities that had different elections at different times. Our elections were usually the last Tuesday in September or the first Tuesday in October. And we did it so that the Board of Elections went to 13 municipalities and tried to get us all to have our primary elections on the same day to save the Board of Elections money and to have a more efficient operation. So our new primary date, what's our new, is that September something. Okay, so June 25th is the filing deadline, and September something will be the primary, the new primary, which is earlier, it's further out from the general than before, as our filing deadline. So, all right, well, thank you very much, and we'll end the dinner for now. Thank you.